name is Shannon. Your name is Lita. My name is Zarshua. You do not owe somebody else an explanation for what you are doing.
Welcome to Bari Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
Well, Leeds, because it is the first podcast of December, I think it's only fair that, we start with this.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Just to get us in the feel of Christmas.
The Christmassy it is the most wonderful time of the year. I love December.
You are such
Summer.
a Christmas, like a little Christmas spirit, aren't you? Like you love it. You got your little Baileys
My
tradition,
Baileys, yeah.
which I've taken on board. Baileys is delicious.
That's why you can only drink it for the month of December, because if
only the month of December.
Only the month of December.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't touch it the rest of the year.
No, not the rest of the year.
All right, sounds fair.
So I said yesterday it was the 1st of December. I was like, it's Bailey's month.
It's Bailey's month. I could actually go buy it now because it only exists during December.
Yeah, they don't sell it any other time.
No. We actually had a Christmas party on the weekend.
That we did.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. What did you find the best part of it? What was the part for you that stood out as like you enjoyed?
No, I was going to say, do I remember?
Yeah, I was about to go, do you remember it?
No, honestly, the best part that I enjoyed was seeing people do things that they wouldn't normally do. And I mean, some people coming to 5K your way, or, a few people conquered Mount Coolum who legit did not think that they'd be able to make it up there, or just people who came by themselves who would never put themselves in a situation where they're entering a room of like 80 plus people. Like, just seeing people step out of their comfort zones and actually just thrive and have a great time. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was. Especially Mount Coolum, that was a big one for me. Like there was, a few people that it was such an accomplishment. You could tell they cried when they touched that net up the top of the mountain. And that means a lot, kind of just seeing someone, because I know when I was there, I know those feelings, and seeing someone do that, it was pretty epic.
That's what I said too, because I was saying, like, the first time that I tried to climb Mount Coolum, I didn't make it to the top, and people didn't believe me. But we all start somewhere.
Yeah. And that's it, and trying to get that across in a message, because sometimes people look and go, yeah, but you're here, but I was there.
Yeah.
So I get what you're feeling.
What was your favourite part?
I think the mountain as well for me, but I did have like an NSV moment when we did the spa thing. That was kind of cool.
Oh, that was cool.
It kind of like ticked a thing off for me, because like you had a spa in like the room you guys were in, and like 7 of us jumped in the spa.
8 of us.
8 of us jumped in the spa, and like it was such we won't fit. And it was just kind of like something I've never done in the past. One, because obviously I was very body conscious, and two, because, I never was in that situation. It was just nice to sit in there with friends, have a chat, like, and just, be in the moment. It's almost like, I was never included in like spin the bottle. Like it's such a random thing. But, when I was a kid, I never got included in the games of spin the bottle. And like as a kid, you kind of like, I feel like that's like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Everyone has that. So like being able to be in the spa, like I would have been in that position maybe in the past, and I would never have taken that opportunity because I would have been very body conscious of what I look like, especially in front of people. And being in that situation with the people that went into that spa, there was none of that. We just all felt very comfortable. We kind of all could appreciate the moment, and but like
that was a fun evening.
And just seeing people that were there for their first meetup, I love that. Like, but then because they're so nervous, and I get that. Like,
and then by the end of the night, they're just so not like
and they're
so
making
welcomed.
friends. Like there was a few people that was their first night, and I said, "Who do you know?" And I'd introduce them and stuff like that, just so to break the ice kind of thing. Because I think this is like probably the first meetup where I wasn't super nervous, because usually I just get this rush of nervousness, not knowing who's going to be in the room, and just like what they expect and different things like that. And it was just so nice going into this one, and being able to help other people break those walls down and actually make new connections and make new friends, because that's what these meetups are always about.
That's what it's all about.
Speaking of meetups, our guest tonight we will introduce is someone who was at the meetup.
Yeah, she was here at the meetup. So tonight our guest is a mother of 2. She received back in 2019 in March with a start weight of 119 kilos. She's sitting at a very impressive loft of roughly 50 kilos. But what I think is the most impressive so far is her ability to talk openly about her battles with her mental health and her self-worth. Fresh back from her social media break, please welcome Zarshua, also known as Taking Back Zarshua on Instagram.
Hey Zarsh, how are you?
I'm good, guys. How are we going today?
I love that we put in like fresh out of her break from social media. We had to talk about this on Friday, and you were like, well, actually, I didn't mean to get rid of Facebook, but I accidentally did it. It kind of worked out in my favour. So Yeah, it must have felt.
It did.
It must have felt refreshing, I think, having that break away from social media. You actually had a moment on the weekend, which I kind of wanted to bring up because it was kind of like a really cute one.
You know exactly what we're about to say.
And like you did talk about it a little bit on your stories on Instagram and stuff like that. But what was? Yeah, that moment. What was? She's like, I had so many. I just can't remember which one it is. I'm gonna say it's the one where you got hit on by a certain individual, and it was not your usual person. I'm assuming you would get hit on by. Who was it, Josh?
I got picked up by a 15-year-old.
By
It was absolutely brilliant. I lived for the moment, and it came back down to. Again, there was no way that if this were ever going to happen in my life that I was going to say no. Like, I was not going to say no because I did not want to crush. And I explain this as well when people are like, no, don't go. It's like, it's so bad. He's like half your age, Zarshua, don't do this. And I was like, no, because what if this is that one time that he got that courage to go up to somebody and go, hey, would you come and have a dance with me? And I shot him down. He'd never do it again.
Yeah. That's a very external way to look at it. And I get that because what ended up happening is you went into the room and danced away and,
into a year 10 formal.
And I think that's zero. And I think that's the one thing, like you as someone I do look at as, when people say I'm authentic and I'm real and I'm me, sometimes they say it, but as soon as they're put into the pressure, they don't actually mean it. Where I've watched you, especially lately, go through the pressure grinder and not lose who you are. You've stuck to your guns, and I think this is a clear display of that. You knew, you went in there with that confidence, and now hearing it, why you did it makes so much more sense because that young boy ended up being the king of.
Legend, mate. His mates were like patting him on his back, and by the end of the night, they had him lifted up, and his teachers were like, "This is ridiculous." And they're looking at me like the teachers. I'm like, I'm backing out, and the teachers are like, "Yeah, now." And I'm like, I'm going now. I promise you. I'm leaving. I was just here to do this really quickly and I'm out. So.
Yeah, you just made that guy's life.
You've changed his life.
He's going to be voted the king of high school.
King.
You remember he's the king because remember that time he picked up an older woman at a.
They'll be like.
I hate saying older woman. I said that to you the other night as well, and you're like. A prime woman.
They'll be like, and the king of the formal is this dude, and the queen is the chick that had the green hair that one time.
Exactly. I just couldn't get over his actual bollocks. Like him, he what he did was he eyed me off, and then crooked his finger at me like I was. I don't know what it was like, and I was like, "Are you actually talking to me? Because I'm all bullshit right now." And I'm coming to you however you need me. And I went, no, stop it. I was like, no, I love this.
I think it's an experience.
Amazing.
It is. It's a great story. And you were talking about it after. I was like, yes, that's amazing. I love that. Speaking of past, who was Zarshua prior to weight loss surgery? How would you talk about who you were prior to having weight loss surgery?
I'm 32 now. And up until I was 16, 17, I was actually a state swimmer. I played sport every single day. I was a basketball player, a netball umpire, and a surf lifesaver. And then I got into having to work, and I worked in mining and in hospitality and industries that did not give me time to literally do anything for myself. I was consistently big hours, double shifts on top of shifts, over top of days, no sleep, bad diets, and so it just all kind of caught up. And that's, from the early 20s, that's where I started putting on my weight. Then I got married and had children, and I just kind of settled into this, I don't know who I'm going to, what I'm doing. I'm just going to try and be the best that I can be. And that was literally what my handle is about. It was taking back Zarshua. I'm going to take her back because Zarshua, previous to putting on weight and having children and trying to fit what society perceives as the norm and what you're supposed to be a good wife and a good mother and a good person in society, I literally, I have green hair and I wear bright colours and I do these things, and I did these things before I had children, but then I seemed to lose myself in there, and I wore grey and black, and I would hide away from everybody, and I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want people to question why I thought differently about things. So I shut it all down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And hearing that, you wearing black and grey, it's not who I envision you to be now. You're very colourful. You're very You're very
You put yourself out there as well.
Yeah, and on your
Yeah.
words, and like that was like, we went through the whole, we're not a political thing, but like we went through the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and that was one thing I messaged you and was just like, you stuck to your guns, you knew your facts, you knew your point, and like I was kind of like envious of that because I didn't know it well enough to put my opinion across and to make a change. But then I was watching you who knew your facts. It wasn't something that was fresh to you, it was something you knew quite well, and you stuck to your guns, especially during a time where, it was on trend. And you kind of just said, this is how I see it. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. And I'm sure you got a lot of slack for that. And watching you stick to your...
I got a lot of slack for it, but it was one of those things that what I give, it's really that treat others how you would like to be treated. And, just because two people have a difference of opinion doesn't make one wrong, and it doesn't give you a right to put somebody else down. I'm not interested in pulling other people down. If I don't have anything nice to say, like I said to my children, be quiet. Just stop. Walk away. I will, I'm also happy to change my mind. I'm happy to gather whatever information people want to throw at me, and if they go, but I see it this way, and I can go, oh, actually, yeah, I enjoy that. That's really interesting. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, and I'm willing to process that and put that into my thought pattern moving forward.
No, it is, and you're willing to learn from others as well. I think that's an important thing. Like you're not going to sit there and say I know everything. But you're going to sit there and give your opinion across of how you see things and not be afraid of the backlash. And that was where, like, I always kind of had a bit of respect for you, but, like, watching you go through that whole situation, it kind of goes like, this chick's legit.
Yeah.
She is, she is the definition of being her, being real. Because a lot of people can use that word, but a lot of people don't actually,
stand by it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing I really put you on a bit of a pedestal for me when you were just, very authentically you.
Thanks, because it's definitely not a word that I'd use for myself, raw and authentic. It just, I just want to try to be acceptable, and I want people to understand that, you don't have to fit into everybody's box just to be accepted.
Yeah.
But I think also going through that situation for me as well, you definitely opened up my eyes a little bit as well, because like I will be the first person to say I don't really watch the news. I don't really troll through like Facebook and everything. So I purely learn from what other people tell me. And with certain situations, you legit only learn what people learn from social media and all that sort of thing. So seeing you being so like strong within yourself, it kind of made me stop and realize that there's so much more out there than what we're just drip fed, and that we really do need to educate ourselves. And that was the one big thing that I took away from it, that I need to educate myself on things before I can have an opinion, but you also need to be willing to learn and educate yourself before you like stick to your guns sort of thing.
Yeah, and don't just talk about one song. I think with the Zarshua, you said as well a lot was, I want you guys to be here when it's not trending. And that was very true because, she was there before it was trending, and then everyone jumped on
she's still there now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, she was doing it well before.
I'm still there. Like, I literally,
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And that's, that was my thing, is it's okay to have an opinion and stand by, because I got hammered by people that were, for example, there was plenty of things that I'd, go on a tangent about and have a conversation about and have a, what I wanted to do was open up the space. I wanted to open the space for Black Lives Matter. I wanted to open the space for men's mental health. I wanted to open the space for you to actually have a conversation about all the things that no one wants to have a conversation about because it's dirty, it's not spoken about, it's not a good thing to talk about. And I wanted to bring it all to the surface and give people just somewhere to, tell me how they feel about it. And, I copped a lot of backlash, but inside that I also copped, thank you so much for helping me have a look at something differently. Thank you for letting me, because they come at me and go, you know what, I don't agree with what you have to say, Zarshua, but I appreciate the fact that you allow me to have my version of what I want to say, and I appreciate the fact that you let me have my opinion, and you don't agree, and we can go, I agree to disagree, and move on and have a civil conversation without having to bring each other down. And that was the biggest thing about it, is I don't want people to, I want people to feel comfortable in themselves and know what they stand for and what they believe in and what they think is okay. And if you're okay with that and you don't need to change it, then don't. That's fine. That is actually okay. If you're not happy with that part of you, then you need to change it. You don't like it, change it. I'm the cheekiest little shit that you'll ever meet, and I have an opinion about everything. And there's this part where I'm like, I just need to put a hand over my mouth. Be quiet, stop it. Don't stand back. You need to back down. And it's something that I have been practicing, and it's not easy because it's part of my personality, but it's not something that needs to take the forefront. It's something that I'm also allowed to sit down and be quiet and hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, have the discord, have the conversation, and I think that's really important. And sometimes people don't want to do that because, you know, the egos get in the way and, you know, they want to be right. And I think that's one thing you do really well is you don't let the ego get in the way. You were happy to have the discord because you're open to learning, which I think is really important, you know, in that situation and in every situation, just be willing to have the conversation and be open to learning. What was it that made you go down the lines of, you know, we got off a bit of a tangent with the political side of things, but it's something I feel like plays really strongly into, you know, who Zarsh is, you know, who you are. So I just wanted to kind of bring it up because it was definitely something that, like, you know, you went from being, you know, Zarsh on Instagram to Zarsh, someone that I actually want to have Discord and talk to and, you know, I guess develop that friendship with because it is really important to be able to have that Discord and feel free to be you. You know, what was it that made you go down the lines of having weight loss surgery?
So, yeah, when I started putting on weight in my early to mid-20s, really, I, after being so fit, very, very fit, I started putting on this weight and I started, like, sloping. I was on a downward spiral, mentally, physically, emotionally. I did not like myself. And I tried a lot of things. The thing is I stayed active in my sport all the way through this. I started my own softball team again. I was going to CrossFit every single day for 2.5 hours in the morning. I would walk my kids to school and from school. We ate well, but my problem was I was very heavy into sport growing up that my portion sizes were still extremely large because when you were doing such a big amount of sport and exercises, you had a lot of food to feed you to be able to get through those days. So growing up doing a lot of sport, I had, to be perfectly honest, it was about 5 or 6 meals a day and passes and portions and trying to get all these carbs in to be able to get me all the way through from 5 o'clock swimming in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night basketball. And so my portions, and I kept eating and eating and eating. When I did notice that that wasn't helping and that's where my problem was, I cut it all down. I went to my doctors and I went and had a conversation with her as to what would be the best way to go about this. And we tried calories. I would try at my gym at the time. I tried all the things that were happening at the time, the challenges that were happening at the gym. I joined every challenge. I think at one of them I lost 10 kilos of it. I tried weight loss shakes. I tried different types of diets. I tried calories counting. I tried keto. I tried lots of different things to be able to do this. I went there. I ended up on some kind of weight loss tablet.
Oh, what's that weight loss tablet? You know the weight loss tablet?
Duramine.
Yeah.
I ended up on Duramine, and it actually didn't do anything to me. It's like the legal speed, which is fantastic. But for somebody who is as busy and as hectic as I already am, who already drank as much caffeine and already lived this big life, it actually didn't do anything for me. So I had to go and get a pile of blood tests done. And I can't exactly remember what it was that came back. My doctor was like, oh, your hormones are a hot mess. It's, you know, there's this whole big thing going on there. If you want to lose this weight, you're going to need to take a drastic step. And I was like, yeah, all right then. Are we talking like weight loss surgery? She was like, if that's something that you'd like to do, then I'd encourage it because, you know, it would probably be a good thing for you. And so that's where I kind of started looking into it. And I was actually booked in a year prior. And like a lot of us, we chicken out of it. A lot of us step back and go, I don't know, I don't want to feel like that person that has failed at trying and I want to do this on my own. I want to succeed. And that was where my mental challenges kind of started coming in there. I was like, no, I actually have to make these choices for me. I have to put myself first and go through with this. So that's where I ended up booking my exercise and going through.
So I was going to ask you, the next question was going to be, did you take much convincing? But by the sounds of that, you were quite receptive to the idea of having the weight loss surgery, and it might have even been sort of already planted in your head prior to you having that consultation with the doctor. So you chickened out and then you spent, about a year or so researching and learning. What do you think?
It was about
6
6 months.
months?
About 6 months. Yeah, it wasn't too long.
And what do you think was the most valuable thing, or what are you grateful for sort of tackling and learning in that 6 months?
To be perfectly honest, it was about just putting myself first. And again, as a mum and as a wife and as somebody who works and who does all these things, you put yourself at the back. Consistently putting yourself at the end. And I'd like to think that I'm a fair person and I'm fair and honest to everybody else except me. So I had to pull that right up and go, hold the fridge. You can't help anybody else if you can't help yourself.
Yeah, very true. And that's a big thing for mums too. And like every time I do like a I talk to me when I do my Instagram stuff, and I feel like I'm talking to me, and I have to pull my head in sometimes because I put myself in the idea of a mum. Because, time restraints and different things like that and having other individuals to deal with, it makes it a lot harder. So sometimes I have to kind of put my head in and be like, this is how I feel about the situation, but it's going to be really hard for a mum or an elderly person to kind of, take that and use that.
It's different for you because you're just you, whereas like
100%.
Zarsh and everybody else out there, they've got a partner or they've got kids or they've got, people that they're living with that they've got to also take into consideration.
Yeah.
It's a completely different ball game if it's physically just you that you have to worry about.
Did you find everyone was pretty accepting of the decision around you when you made the choice?
I think the people externally from my family were all okay. Like, I think because I put myself out there to be, I'm going to do this and I'm not taking any prisoners with it and I'm going to go ahead with that, then it was received openly from friends, people that, that I played sports with, that I did all these activities with. My husband was very, very nervous. He was like, I don't mind whatever you want to do. I'm here to support you in whatever way you'd like to go about it. However, he was still just frightened in the fact of, I only want what's best for you. I only want you to do what's best for you, and I don't want you to feel like this is your only option. If you don't want to go through with this, then I want you to be able to have the choice to back out if that's what it is. Same as my mum. She's very herbalistic and, anti this and free love and peace and all of these types of things. That surgery, yeah, I know, you wonder where I get it from.
Yeah.
And she was just like, no, I don't think you should do this. So to the point that I cut down and said, no, I didn't tell her. And my sister went, Zarshua was going into hospital tomorrow to get her surgery done. So if you'd like to go upstairs, she's up to sleep.
Yeah, wow.
She was like, what do you mean? And came on up because she wants to be supportive. But again, you have to take yourself out of the situation and allow yourself to do what you need to do for you. Even my mum, I appreciate everything that she has to say and I respect that. But I needed to make a choice for me. And, nearly 2 years later, she's like, you know what, it's a great decision because you've found you again. Like, you are this person, Zarshua. You are this bright, sparkly, bubbly fairy that wants to have a good time. And for 10 years, she's like, I don't know where you are.
Did you feel like it was your last option, that it was your last resort?
Yeah, I suppose if I had to, look in hindsight, to it, then yeah, it would have been because again, having such an active lifestyle, I genuinely felt as though I failed because I've done all the sport. I know how to eat well. I know how to count calories. I know how to lift weights. I know how to do those things. I'm a personal trainer for God's sake. This is okay, but I had to do something that was going to work for me, and then. Even when people ask me whether or not I'd had the sleeve or if I'd had the bypass, and I would go, I've had the sleeve, in absolutely no judgment to anybody. And they were like, well, can you explain as to why you had the sleeve rather than the bypass? And I was like, because I like to lift weights. And I know that this is going to take half my stomach out. I want the opportunity for it to stretch a little bit because I wanted to be able to make sure that I was getting enough calories to be able to do the high-intensity sports that I like to do. So I had to have that flexibility even going into it. I was like, no, I want to make sure that I do this. And even when I dropped down, I lost all of my weight in 11 months. I lost all of my weight and I got down to 68 kilos. And for my height, I'm 5'7", it was all good and dandy. But I was pushing on like an 8 to 10, and I've always been, when I had no weight on me, a 10 to 11, like a 12 in there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I actually have to put on a couple of kilos. And that was okay with me. And so I physically, as soon as I lost that weight, I had to, because again, coming into that mental health, I wanted to make sure that this was okay. The scales weren't going to own who I am. I will just make sure that I'm going to do the best that I can do and make sure that I'm healthy at the end of it.
That just shows how headstrong you are, though. Like, for you to sort of, a lot of people would go, oh, yeah, you know what, I'm down to a size 6 to 8, I'm killing this journey, but you've actually gone, well, hang on a second, I like to do high-intensity sports, and I know that if I'm not, if I'm not eating the right amount of foods and I'm not doing this sort of thing, then I'm not going to be able to live the lifestyle that I want. So I think that just shows how much, how switched on you are as a person as well. It's not just all about, I want to fit into the smallest size clothes that I can.
Yeah. Well, you did say one of your proudest moments was getting back to a size 10, implying that once you were a size 10, what would you feel? Because obviously before, when you were a size 10, you were quite active. Where you obviously were going wrong is you were over fueling. what is it that, you're doing differently this time compared to the first time? Because obviously being active is one thing, but obviously the over feeling, it's all about an educational understanding what over and under feeling is. How do you feel like you're approaching that differently this time?
More with understanding and openness to acknowledge that, it's okay to put on a couple of kilos, but you need to grab it at 5 kilos. You need to grab it at 3 kilos, that that part there, because when you're weighing at the biggest that I remember seeing on scales, I was 124 kilos, and I'd put on 5 kilos in 2 weeks and go, oh, what's the point of that? Like, why does that mean anything to me? I, didn't do anything. And then, like, I use a size 10 as more like a measurement. Like, I don't have a problem being a size 12. Actually, I have a problem if I actually get into a 14, depending on the clothes size, like where I'm shopping at. I went into that mentally going, Zarshua, be realistic about this. Clothes change from store to store. You know what your sizing is, and this is what it's going to be able to keep you on your accountability. So what my thing in my head was, okay, so I got to 68. I need to get to 70. I'm allowed at 73 only if I'm putting on muscle. Otherwise, Zarshua, you need to rein that back in, and you need to rein that back in. And so I got off Instagram. And, I was like, Zarshua, you made it all the way through COVID without putting on weight. You maintained this. You drank like a fish, and you did what all these type of things. And yet you were still able to stay active and maintain these things. And then I got on social media, and I was like, no one cares what I do, so I won't just eat everything. So I put on 4.5 kilos. And I was like, I can't rely either on social media to keep me accountable. And then as I was talking to other people, I was really headstrong. Like, no, I don't need this social media to tell me how to run my life. I don't need it to dictate me and tell me how good I'm worth and what I'm supposed to look like. And we know what social media is like, so I didn't want to rely on that. But then it was more of I didn't realise that I used it like an open diary. I used it to kind of go, oh, that's what you ate today, and you could remember it. Not the fact that I went into it going, this is going to be my diary and it's going to keep me accountable. I didn't even go into it like that. It was more just there, and I would put photos of my food, so I could actually go back and look at the portion sizes, really, and it kind of just moved from there, keeping myself visually aware of what I had eaten for that day and what I had and how much water I'd had and where I'd gone, because I'd comment like, walked 6 Ks down to here and drank 3 litres and ate a salad. Feeling good about myself today.
It's funny you say that, because I had a conversation with somebody at the Christmas party on the weekend just gone, and they were like, why did you start your Instagram? And I was like, well, I started my Instagram probably about 2.5 months before surgery, and I was sort of, I was doing boot camps, I was going to the gym, I was walking, I distinctly remember putting up a photo of like 3 little Cheerios, being like, oh my God, this is my go-to snack, thinking, it's not too bad, it's 3 little sausages, they're protein, it's right. Like, little did I understand that it was just processed meat and probably one of the worst things you could possibly put into your body, but they taste so good. But then like it kind of and then it kind of just like stemmed into like it became an accountability sort of thing, because you'd kind of be like, oh, well, hang on a second, I'm feeling tired, I've gained 2 kilos, I'm feeling sluggish, what's going on? You could kind of look through your posts and be like, oh, well, hang on a second, like your portion size have gone up, or like you're not exercising as much as what you were, or, you've snuck in a few Tim Tams here or there. Like, it was very much an accountability thing. And as Zarshua just said, it then turned into, like, it's just grown. And now, yes, it is still an accountability thing. But for me, my accountability is, oh, I haven't run 30 Ks this week. I've only ran 5 Ks this week. So, of course, and it's completely changed, because my scale of where I am now compared to where I was pre-op, like for me, if I'm like, why am I tired and why am I feeling crappy? It's because I'm used to running 5 Ks a day and like clocking up 30, 40 Ks a week. And now it's all of a sudden I've dropped down to 5 or 10 Ks a week. And it is still an accountability. It's just I'm on a much different scale now to what I was before surgery.
No, 100%. It's definitely an accountability and a validation tool. So it's kind of like, having this people who kind of go, yay, you did good. It's a validation thing. That's a human instinct to, one, have accountability where you don't want to be embarrassed in front of others, and also validation where you want other people to, appreciate how good you're doing, or what you're doing, or, this decision you made. I think it's very natural as a human to want those things.
100%. That's why the dress that I wore to the Queensland Christmas party, I wore it because it was a beautiful dress and it made me feel good. But I'm also going to get people telling me how good I looked in it. And that in turn is going to make me feel good about myself. Like, we always have this underlying, we want to please other people. As much as we're doing it for ourselves, we also want to please other people and get the reaction from other people. And I'll be the first person to say that that's what about the fact that you were off social media and you've then now made a comeback back to it. But what was the reason in the first place why you decided to leave?
Social media is very selfish. So it's selfish in the fact that it ends up being everything that you're about, everything that you're interested in. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And yeah, everybody likes to be, like you were saying, I like it. Everybody likes to be told, you look great in that. You know, I like your hair, I like your eyes. Well done for getting your nails done. That's amazing. But then I ended up losing myself, obviously, on political rants, on what's happening in the world, on it doesn't matter what other people were wearing, what other people were saying about me. Not necessarily like it sat on me, like it bothered me what they would say about me, but it ended up being that I would spend my day talking about me and then replying to other people's questions about me. And I'm sorry, I wasn't that interested in talking about me. Like, you can ask a question. I'm here to answer every question. Doesn't matter what anybody has to say, but it was just kind of like, how did you do this? What did you do for that? How did you go about this? And I want to answer them because I want to help as many people as I can. But, you know, there's only so many times that somebody can go, oh, Zarshua, have you had skin removal surgery? And I'd go, no, I haven't. Are you sure? Yeah, mate, I was there. Sorry.
I think so.
But yeah, well, was it me? But they would, you know, I got it brought up. So it was just, you know, I'd take those types of things out of it. I'd take those topics out of it and go, you know what, I'm actually not going to talk about it anymore because I feel like it doesn't matter what I say, you aren't getting the response you want, and I'm still standing here talking about myself. So how was your day? What made you want to get surgery? I know that you would like to do this. Is there anything that you would like to do once you've gotten to what your goal weight is? How are you going about this? Are you drinking enough water? I'm here to talk, and I'm here to help, and I'm here to engage, and I'm here to, you know, all I want from people is the best that they can be, because life, I think, get really, you know, it's people, again, it's not a competition. Your story's not better than mine. My story's not better than yours. I'm not here to, you know, up your story. You don't need to try and up my story. Just be you. Be comfortable with that. Take a step back and have a look at what you want to do for you. And if that's not helping where you want to go in your life, then change it.
It's a very valid point.
Valid point.
Especially on Instagram, because it does become a lot about, you know, interactions and numbers and this and that and that. And I think that's one thing I definitely got lost in that in the early stages. And it's something lately where I've stopped paying attention so much to it because it became like almost like an addiction. You know, it becomes like a, you know, rather than being like you're doing it for a reason of, you know, connecting with people, which is why we all started in the first place. We all want to put our stories out there and hopefully help that one person. A lot like we talked with Matt, where Matt shared his story and it helped me so much in my early process. That's why you started in the first place. But then a lot like weight on the scales, where you're looking at a number. Instagram's the same thing, you know, it's about the numbers and the, you know, and it can get in your head. And I found myself getting to that point as well. And I had to pull myself back and be like, no, that's not why you're doing this. It's not for the numbers. It's because you just want to help that one person.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get lost in that. And, you know, especially when, you know, people start, you know, coming forward and being like, you know, we'll offer you this to show this product and we'll do this and show this. And, you know, that's another.
Exactly it.
Yeah, like, and that was like something I thought about today because like someone kind of tagged us in a thing earlier today and they went on a bit of a tangent about it and talked about social media and how, you know, and I remember in the early days I talked about being multi and, you know, because I took my multi every day and stuff like that. And I wasn't getting anything for that. And I remember I got put on literally like a steak and like, and flamed for that because people who were around before me kind of, you know, were like, no, you sell out, you know, you can't, that's not what the bariatric community is about. Where I feel like these days you know, you can do that stuff, you know, and I see people doing quite.
And, you know, that's okay. This is the thing. If you're able to make a living for yourself and better yourself and able to use social media to the degree that it's able to be used and you're happy with that, and I am 100% in support of it. 100%. If that's what you want to do, go and do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, exactly right. But it does come to a point, and like I guess like for me, I'm like, you know, if you can do it. But it's also like as long as you're putting products across that you're happy to promote, you're happy to talk about, because that's one thing with me. Like I've had companies come to me and say, you know, I want you to talk about this, and I'm like, no, because it's not. I've never used it.
You got sent a vaginal cup.
Yeah, what was that?
I remember
Yeah, and like, I put that up as a bit of a meme, but things like that I'm not going to put across because I don't use them. It's kind of like the whole point of us starting our Instagrams and our social medias and whatever they are is to help other people and their processes and, educate people and, but by putting a product across that you haven't actually used yourself, it's just like false advertising. It's like why you're losing focus of why you started this in the first place. At the end of the day, do you? But it's also like, just be careful with the messages. The same as I always talk about, like when people go, I haven't exercised, I haven't eaten right for, 2 years and I've lost 90 kilos. I say, that's great, dude. Like, great. There was one the other week and I was kind of like, that's amazing. Good on you. But also the part that scares me about that is you're almost glorifying bad decisions to others. Like, you're going to validate people's bad decisions by saying that, because they're going to be like, I want this piece of pizza, but I shouldn't be having it. But I'm going to have it because this guy ate the pizza and he lost 90 kilos. So, in the eyes of other people, he's going to be successful and, things like that. So it's like, you got to be careful of who you communicate to, especially people early on in the stages. I
thought you were putting your hand up to be like, I want to say something. I was going to say, yes, Zarshua.
Oh, no.
Stretching.
Doing those things. No, I get that. It's like the Jared Subway ad. I don't know if anybody remembers. Like, that was all in your face. He lost however much weight he lost because he ate Subway. Mate, those buns are so full of sugar. And you know what? I had Subway the other day, so I'm not.
I eat Subway once a week, so I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm like, and this is the thing is like, it really does come down to balance. I say it to my children. I'm like, they might wake up in the morning and go, Mum, can I have a chocolate muffin? I'm like, yeah, no, you can't have a chocolate muffin, but you got to remember that you have to have fruit and you have to have fibre and you need to have wheat and oats and all of these types of things for the rest of the day while you're out brushing teeth. Like, you can do that. You wanted to wake up because they're little and they're running around and they're active consistently. I genuinely don't have a problem with them waking up and going, can I have a banana and ice cream and some fruit on it for breakfast? And I go, yeah, cool, you do that. That's fine. But then your next meal is actually going to be pasta and you're going to need to have a whole food in there to be able to keep you going for the rest of the day. While you're at it, you need to make sure that your water's up and you're doing these things because it's okay to have that balance. And you have good days and you have bad days. And it's something, again, that I wanted to instill in my children that, I think it's very important to not give it a restriction, to make it healthy from the start. You can have this. You can have this piece of pizza. Have it. I'm not telling you not to. Have it. Enjoy it. Love it. But then balance it out.
Yeah.
Balance it out consistently. Because if you're going to hold you back and you're going to restrict yourself and go, no, I'm not, you're going to gorge on it later.
But then what you're also...
I couldn't have that pizza.
What you're also saying too, though, is perfect though, because you're saying have the pizza, but then, or like what you said to your kids, like have the ice cream with a banana for breakfast, if that's what you really want for breakfast. But your next meal and the rest of the day is going to be well balanced, and your energy and all that sort of thing.
It's one of those things because like it's all good talking about young people and ingraining those habits in your brain and stuff like that. But we're not talking about kids here. We're talking about grown adults who clearly have the self-sabotage mentality. And that's the biggest thing for me, because if you say you can have, I'm saying like I have a piece of pizza, I do it, but I don't glorify it, because at the end of the day, the people within the bariatric community don't need the glorification of having the piece of pizza, because they're going to have the piece of pizza. But then if you glorify having that piece of pizza, they're not going to stop at one.
But I think the thing is that have the piece of pizza, just don't have the pizza all day, or don't have it every single week.
We don't have that. But we wouldn't have bariatric surgery
if we had that control.
If we had that control. We don't have self-control. So by like glorifying the, I've lost 90 kilos and I did this, we're almost reinforcing the decisions for people early on in the stages to later on then justify the decision they make. Is my only concern.
I think my biggest concern was when people go, I've lost 90 kilos and I've never once done any exercise.
Yeah, that was the guy the other day. And literally it was like, I said, 100%, if that's your process, it's your process. Like, happy days. Well done, buddy. Well done. But it's also like that sending a bad message to bariatric patients. Because we don't have self-control. Like, we wouldn't have needed weight loss surgery if we had self-control. And we don't need someone else. It's almost like having a cheerleader every time we pick up something bad going, you can do it. We don't need that. We need someone, we need that thing in the back of their head that says, you don't need that. Because then you probably will only stop at one. Where if you have that thing in the back of your head that's going, oh, but, this person had 2 or 3, or they never held back and they had.
But then that just comes back to comparing yourself on Instagram and to other people. You should never compare your own journey to anybody else's.
No, but it's not comparing. It's just having that that person that's saying it's okay.
Look at what you do when you come on our podcast. You just
no, but it's a great subject.
Can't help it. Have a conversation.
But it's a great thing to do because I think you need to be aware that, like, you know, with the you know, your social presence, you need to understand that you're touching a lot of people, not just in good but bad. You know, it's like as much as you're, you know, touching in a good way and you're helping people, you could say or do something that reinforces a bad habit, which sends someone on a bad tangent, you know, and sends someone back, you know, because at the end of the day, 50% of us do regain.
Yeah.
Facts don't lie.
No, we do. And this thing, and it was something like as simple as when I did leave social media, I went on some kind of a rampage about somebody that had irritated me with something because it doesn't take an awful lot. And once I kind of went bang, 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 and looked at it from another point of view, I came back humiliated and went, all right, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I need to take a step back. I need to remove myself from this situation because she said stuff that might have led other people to do something that's probably not appropriate for them. Just because it works for me doesn't mean that it's for you. So, you know, when I came back and I went, I'm really sorry that I've said these things. You need to go and have a look for yourself because you can't take what I have to say as gospel. You need to have a look at it and have a go at it yourself to be able to find what works best for you. And that there is accountability in itself. I understand that, you know, just because such and such is looking at it from this way and such and such is looking at it from that way, your name is Shannon, your name is Lita, my name is Zarshua. You do not owe somebody else an explanation for what you are doing. Hold yourself responsible for your choices.
It's very true.
You have to.
And I like
you've got to trade it back in.
I like the fact that you said accountability there too, because like, yes, somebody, like for me, I can put up, like I always talk about the fact that I drink alcohol now. Like I'm not an alcoholic or anything like that, but I still like to have a glass of wine.
You don't go to meetings.
You know, I'm clearly, I drink, I mean, I probably should have gone to a meeting after last weekend, but Jesus. But like I talk about, like I am openly talk about drinking wine and drinking Baileys and all that sort of thing. But somebody who's 3 weeks out from surgery shouldn't look at my posts and go, oh, Alita drinks wine, I'll be allowed to drink wine. You've got, like, I understand that our actions is also like it's letting other people know where you can be, but that person also has to know that they're accountable for their own decisions. Like I'm 3 years out almost and I'm doing me now. Like that doesn't mean that what I'm doing now is okay for somebody who's 1 year out, or like everybody's different. So yes, follow people and like look up to them and stuff, but you've got to hold yourself accountable for your own actions. Yeah,
it is, but it's almost like you don't want to influence people. Like I think that's my biggest thing. Like at the end of the day,
nobody wants to influence people. Like you do. Obviously, people like to be influenced. They want to influence people, but you know, it's all good and dandy to do that, but I don't think it's actually something that I would ever strive to do. That's not something that I'd push to do, because if you influence somebody in a way that isn't good for them or it jeopardizes them, that's something I don't want to be a part of, because it doesn't work for them. Just because it worked for me, it doesn't work for them. And I mean, you'll see that on my page that, you know, I will go, cool, I'm down to a size 10 as opposed to where I was and what I'm doing. Where are you going with this? What do you want to do with that? How are you looking at this? What are you doing to broach that subject? Because this is what works for me. I had that many people that would go, oh, Zarshua, when you stalled, what did you do? I drank a lot of water. Maybe you should go back and drink a bit more water. I don't know what works for you. You need to have a go at it, have a look at it. Maybe you need to up your fibre. Maybe you need to lower your fruit. I don't know what it is. Go and have a look. Maybe you need some blood tests. Have a gander at what else there is in there. In doing this, I'm in the process of having a look at whether or not I'm actually celiac. I think I hold the gene to being gluten intolerant, and I'm already lactose intolerant, and understanding those types of things, which, you know, when you're already so big and you're already so uncomfortable and you're already so bloated, you don't even feel these types of things. So it's not until you've kind of mentally taken that shift and gone, yeah, I've lost this weight and I'm going to go and eat that sandwich and I feel really crap now. What did I do that for? Why did I do that? And that there is where that accountability comes in. Yeah, if the pizza is okay and you would like to eat it, then have a go at it. If it's not going to work for you, stop.
Well, you also can't, we were talking about influencers before. Like I like to think of my page as I'm influencing people to, you know, be a little bit more active in their day. Like I'm not telling you to go out and run and to go out and do the crazy things that Shannon and I do. Like just go out and try and do something a little bit more than what you did the other day. But in saying that, I can't expect people to look at my Instagram and go, yes, I'm going to become a runner like Shannon, like Lita, but then go, oh, but hang on, I'm not going to listen to the fact that she drinks wine every day. You know what I mean? Like I can't, what I put on my social media is what works for me, and I can't be like, but I only want them to take from me the running side of things.
You know what it's like. You almost want someone to tell you how to do things, especially with bariatric surgery and stuff like that. Going into it, there is no black and white. There is no, this is how you do bariatric surgery. So, people jump on Instagram and they see you or they see Zarsh or they see whoever it is and they go, wow, they're very successful. They've done really well. I want to get to where they are at. I'm going to follow what they did, whether they do or don't. Like subconscious is a big thing. Like subconscious, there's people out there who subconsciously in the back of their head recognize themselves as being big.
But I'm also not going to stop posting a photo of me with a glass of wine just because I think that it's going to influence somebody else to drink a glass of wine.
I'm hesitant, with what I do post purely, and like some people say, it's fake and blah, blah, blah. But it's like for me, I take a certain amount of responsibility with not being the person that does reinforce that bad habit for someone. That for me is like, as much as I don't want to be like, this is okay, because I think, at the end of the day with social media, people are going to put you on a pedestal. Whether you like it or not, they're going to put you on a pedestal. They're going to say, he's very successful, she's very successful. And they're going to take what you say as gospel. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. People are going to, be like, justify their own actions through what you do. Whether you like it or not.
But does that mean that you have to change those?
No, I still do it. I just don't glorify it.
Yeah, but like, why is that something that needs that you're, is there a reason why you have to take what other people might do into consideration to such an extreme that you might not post something because it might lead somebody to another way? When I start something, because I start an argument about something, and I'll go, you know what, I'm going to have an opinion about this. I'm not expecting everybody to agree, but I'm going to say it anyway. Then come at me if you don't like it. But it's not going to make me question whether or not I should or shouldn't say it. With the Black Lives Matter thing, I knew it was on a rampage. It was on a rampage, and if you were hesitant to even go look at it sideways, you were going to get cut up. And you know what I did, but it didn't change the fact that I wasn't going to.
No, it is, and I never expect someone to change. If it's you, do it. I'm just saying from my experience, this is how I do it. Like at the end of the day, whether I take a photo of something and I post it, it's no biggie for me. It's not going to change who I am by posting it or not posting it. In real life, if I want a piece of pizza, I have a piece of pizza because I know for me that I can control that. But whether I take a picture of that photo and I go, put it up on this special, be like, I had a piece of pizza. I don't take the time to then glorify that on my Instagram and be like, I had a piece of pizza today, like it's some monumental moment. And that for me is where I'm at. If you want to do that, if you want to put it out there, then do it. But I'm just saying that's where I stand.
Absolutely understand.
Yeah. It's a funny one. What?
I see that. That's what, Shannon, that's just what makes you a better person, because seriously, I ain't nobody got time for that, because I get carried away with other things. And I don't say it in like, that wasn't sarcastic by any means.
No.
Sorry, but people do, and good people do take into consideration what other people might do, what other people do think, and what other people, and they are forward thinking in that, and that is a brilliant trait to have, and it is a kind trait to have, and it is something really, really thoughtful, Shannon, that other people do not have, and that is something you should actually be very proud of, because not everybody has it. They're just going to go, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I actually don't give a shit what you have to say, because it's my life. Like Lita and I sitting here arguing it, we can sit here and go, you know what, Shannon, still not going to agree with what you have to say, because if I want to put up my pizza, then I'm going to put up my pizza. I'm going to drink my wine, I'm going to drink my wine. And that's okay for whoever that might be. But you here are taking this conscious step to go, you know what, I'm not willing to do that, because I know that I have however many people looking at me, because they're looking at me as something that they might be able to work really hard towards, because we've all gotten ourselves into this big schmozzle of putting on all this weight and nobody's happy. I'm not happy. None of us were happy. There's a reason we took this step. And if I'm looking at this guy that, you know what, especially with men, these men that do not speak up, these men that hide in the cupboard, who am I going to look to? Right at this minute, Shannon, they're looking at you. And the fact that you've taken that step back to go, you know what, I'm not going to make it glorified, because it's already hard enough. It's already a shit spot for us to be in, and that's okay with me. That's a brilliant thing to have, Shannon.
Yeah.
That is something that not everybody has.
You just gave me goosebumps. God, you're a good speaker.
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't criticize anyone who does it. And that's the saying that, like, I've been, what was it the other week? I posted a photo of my oats, because people are always like, food, what do you eat? What do you eat? And I'm like, I'm not a nutrition. I'm going to share the food I eat, because I don't know food. I'm 3 years out and I still don't know what to eat.
Yeah, you just
I
eat
can't
oats.
tell you. But I did oats the other day, and someone literally messaged, like, I think it was, literally 10 minutes after, it was like, that seems like a lot. It's just stuff like that, because obviously I burn 2,000 calories a day. I probably eat larger portions than most bariatric patients, and that's why I do not share. But I shared one the other day because people kept asking, and I was like, "This is my oats," and then someone was like, "That seems like a lot of oats." Yeah.
Relearn what they need to eat, how they eat as well, because you know what foods you like to eat. You know what foods you should eat. You know, we're going into this. We know what we're doing wrong. We can see what we're doing wrong. We know what it is. We might not necessarily know the trigger, but whether or not there's something that you need to learn inside that, and it's, again, taking that mental flip and flipping it on its ass, because we're getting half our stomach cut out, we're getting a bypass done, we're getting all of these different types of things done. The weight is actually going to come off. The weight is going to come off. However fast or however slow it's going to be, it's going to come off. What you need to do is, okay, so once I'm off this liquid diet, once I'm off this puree diet, how am I going to best approach this for me? What do I need to do? What foods do I like to eat? How is it going to work for me? You know, I started off with eggs and salmon and a lot of fish because I just prefer to eat like that, with avocados, and making sure that I had a higher fat diet with bananas, proteins, avocados, salmon and fat, because that was something that I needed for myself. But that's something because I looked into it for, you know, what types of diets would be good for afterwards, what types of diets work good for my skin, what types of diets, you know, so not diet, sorry, what types of foods are best to feed my body. How am I going to get the most nutrition out of something that's going to fit into a really small belly? I'm going to have a banana. I'm going to have a little bit of banana. I'm going to need a little bit of avocado. But, you know what, I need some good fats and I need some oils and I need these types of things in there. So I was trying to go, okay, how much do I have? I've only got a small bit of area to fill. So how do I get the most nutrition back into that? And I think that's where people have to kind of think about it, because when you start to retrain, not necessarily mine was how much you eat, because I ate good, like you, Lita. I ate well. I ate good food. I just ate a lot of it. So I needed to cut it down and learn to walk away from the food being in front of me. And I'm still a terrible food wastage person. I look at it and like, no, I can't do this. So I have to serve up a really small amount, and then I'll go back and add to it. Because at the beginning, you know that, especially when you get off that puree stage and you're like, what? I actually get to have something to crunch on now?
Food!
I'm starving.
Texture?
I'm starving. I just want to eat everything.
Yeah, totally.
Like, and you want to gorge on it, and you know that you only get a bite or two into it.
So talking about all of that and, you know, what works best for you and all your fats and your good foods and all that sort of thing, you're almost 2 years out from surgery now, and you're nearing the end of what we call, or what everybody calls, the honeymoon period. What habits, apart from obviously educating yourself and learning, you know, what you were just talking about, what habits have you put into place to ensure that you don't go back to pre-op sort of stages?
Yeah, so, well, it's, again, because, you know, I'm terrible, again, with social media and keeping up with terms and what's happening. Honeymoon periods, that's very new to me. I understand what you're talking about, but, you know, it was something that I was kind of like, okay, Zarshua, I said to myself, you're nearly 2 years out. You need to be able to maintain this moving forward. What is it that you need to do to be able to do that? So a long time ago, I looked at being a personal trainer, and I, you know, didn't do it because you know, I cut my nose to spite my face when I was young, and I didn't go ahead with it. But I never also agreed with going to the gym consistently and doing 15 sit-ups, 15 push-ups, repetition of these types of things. I was not in agreement. What I like to do is to play. I like to have a good time. We all see this. Zarshua just likes to dance. Zarshua just wants to have fun. Zarshua just wants to run around, literally, and bounce off the walls and enjoy myself. So it would be something that what I'm doing to preempt this moving forward. I have a perfectly good job, and I'm happy with that. But for myself, I needed to look into other aspects. So what I've been looking at anyways is how I'm going to look at doing a mental health first aid course to be able to help other people mentally process these kinds of things. So, yeah, so I'm going to look at that. Specifically men. I love myself some good men mental health. Zarshua is happy to talk the soul off an elbow underwater, so I will have a chat and let other people do what they want to do. And I'm going to look into doing my certificate in personal training, but not to do personal training, to play. Let's go to the pool and throw the ball around. Let's go to the basketball court and let's go and have a run around. Let's go to the playground. If you want kids, bring kids along, bring a football. Let's actually have a fun time. While we're at it, I can bring all these other things. Let's actually just go out, because it's about doing that activity, but it's about being happy. It's about getting those endorphins up. It's about enjoying it. If you like to go for a mountain climb, thank you, Shannon, for inviting me. One day I will actually say yes. But until you know, I like to run around. You know, if you were to go, hey, Zarshua, we're going to go to the beach and we're just going to surf around and we're going to play around, you probably would have got more out of me. Oh, what? I can bring my paddleboard and just be a lazy person, and then I can get up and actually do 2 kilometres out there because I'm not scared of the shark, or whatever it might be. That's me. That's more of
I get that.
And
I get that.
Yeah. So it's just having a play, but learning that other people have a different way of doing these things, because you kind of go, all right, I've lost this weight, or I'm going to lose this weight, and I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to be a gym bunny, and I'm going to be skinny, and I'm going to do cardio, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And you know what? Zarshua was like, I'm going to go play softball because I just want to have a good time. And you know what? After it, 2 years later, maybe I'm going to have a glass of wine after I finish my softball game. Balance to me.
Balance. It's funny that you say that too, because I've always said, like when I was training to do triathlons and all that sort of thing, or when I started getting into running, I said the minute that it stops becoming fun is the minute that I am doing something wrong. So I can totally relate to that, because I used to hate running with a passion. Like, I refused to run more than 100 meters. Like, I wouldn't even run the 100 meters before boot camp. And I did things because I knew I had to do them, like the repetition, doing your 15 sit-ups, doing your 15 push-ups, that sort of thing, the repetition. And I hated it. I hated going to the gym, but I knew that I had to do it because it's what I had to do. And then so when I started taking up, triathlon and running and stuff, like I hated running to start off with, but now I enjoy it. And that's where I'm sort of learning now that I have to rein it back. Sometimes I don't have to run as hard as I need to, because if I'm running super hard and I'm not enjoying it, it means that it's not what I'm meant to be doing right there in the moment. So when you were saying that, like, it completely resonates with me, because I don't want to be doing something because I'm forced to do it. I want to do something because it's fun.
That's why I've refused to have a coach. Like, I've had people come forward and say, I want to coach you to do triathlons and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I don't want to coach, because I don't want that structure. I don't want that, I want to be able to do things when I do it. Like this afternoon, I was like, I'm going to head out for 30Ks. It wasn't in my training plan, because like with training plans and stuff, it's like, you got to swim this time, you got to
run hard today.
And I don't want that. Like, I want it to be a lifestyle. I want to be like, I get home from work, I'm stressed, I'm going to go for a run, listen to a podcast or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I want to be
you're filling that gap with something that's healthy.
And something I enjoy, I think, is the biggest thing, because as soon as it starts to feel like a chore, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important
that's what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
When we asked you in the questions, what was the most valuable lesson that you've learnt since weight loss surgery? Your response was that the weight will come off, but be ready for the headspace and to change, for the headspace to change and to allow it, which when I read that, it was just like amazingly written. You're obviously very open with your mental games and your mental headspace and stuff. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how has your headspace changed from pre-op to now?
Clarity, literally mental clarity. Being able to process things in not such a negative light, because I don't have that, that self-worth is something that I'm still working on. Not having that self-worth is something that, the second that somebody says something that you instantly get defensive. No, stop it. Don't tell me that I did this. Don't tell me that I did that. Whereas, now it's kind of like, Zarshua, I don't like what you've had to say. Yeah, I'm sorry. Cool. That's not my actual issue to carry. So I'm going to hear it. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to carry it. It's going to pass straight through. Oh, and that's not mine. I've listened to it. I passed it, but it's not mine to carry. And just literally taking that as an everyday type of information. You're allowed to hear what other people have to say, whether or not that's supposed to weigh out on your shoulders. That's your choice. I'm not interested in carrying those types of things, and I wanted that mental clarity. I wanted to be able to define what was mine and what was somebody else's. Just because somebody else was having a negative day, I'm happy to allow them to have a negative day, but it doesn't mean that I need to walk on through with the rest of my day just as sad.
But I think that's also, like, I was talking to Amy the other day when we went for a ride, and like she kind of said I was a very because I want to have a discussion with another person we know about, like, men and different things, and she said, you got to understand, you're a very she didn't say opinionated. I kind of take it as opinionated. I am quite opinionated, but I'm also open to have that discussion. Like, I want to have that debate. I want to have the discussion. Some of my closest friends, I think why I've connected to Zarshua so much, because she isn't afraid to have her own opinion, because I like that. I like the discussion. I like to learn. I think that is something that's come, because I was never like that before. I would back down as soon as someone, showed a different opinion, because I would be like, oh, no, like, I'm not self-confident enough to be like, I'm going to say how I feel it is. It's not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, I want to put my opinion across. I want to be heard, I think, is the biggest thing. As much as we want our opinion to be heard, we want to have that communication. And I think that does definitely come, because I've been told a lot lately, I don't know if being told opinionated is a good or bad thing. For me, I'm like, I don't mind that, because I'm comfortable with it, because that's who I am.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's really important.
I think it is. I mean, it's the simplest thing in class when you're a kid not wanting to put your hand up because you don't want to sound like a stupid person.
It is. Yeah, it's a great...
Exactly that. And it's something that you do since you're a child. It's something that you do without even thinking about it. Oh, I'm just not going to say anything because it might be wrong. It might offend somebody. It might upset somebody. Whereas it's not supposed to be. You're allowed to have a conversation. You're allowed to converse. You're allowed to disagree. And it's okay to walk away.
And put in that context too, like as a child, if you have a question, you're like encouraged to speak up and ask the question. There's no such thing as a stupid question or that sort of thing. But as we become adults, it's kind of like, oh, hang on, I don't know if I'm right, so I'm not going to say that, or I'm not going to ask that question. It's almost like the older we get, the more we're kind of like, oh, I'll just sit on that and I won't.
We also don't want to draw that negative, negative opinion. We don't want someone to disagree with what we say, especially being over, bigger, and for some reason that just seems to dull us down and make us a little bit more submissive, which isn't what life's about. We should be able to feel like us.
There was a quote that you once sent to me, Shan, and I've forgotten the actual quote because I can't remember it, but I've never forgotten the actual gist of it. And it was like, if somebody gives you a present and you reject that present, then
that's hate.
So
like that was
them.
like the Buddha. It was a Buddha quote, and it was literally like, if someone gives you hate and you choose not to accept it, that hate is like a present and still belongs to them. So it's like, if someone comes to you and has a negative attitude towards you, and you choose to ignore it and you choose to just be like, I'm sorry you feel that way, that hate then goes to them. Energy is a big thing. You know what I'm like with energy. It's like, if I choose not to accept that negative energy, then it still belongs to them.
Which is exactly what Zarshua was just saying. She listens to it. She goes in one ear, she processes it, but then you don't take it on board. You go, you know what, that's your opinion. You're more than welcome to have that, but I'm not going to take it on board. I'm not going to walk around the rest of the day and let that.
Absorb that toxicity. 100%. What would you tell yourself pre-surgery?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I actually have an answer to it. I'd be more inclined to say, I make decisions fairly quickly. I process information fairly fast. I'm happy to take in information relatively easy. And so, I weighed up my pros and cons really fast and went, ding, 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 this is what I need to do. Why did I chicken out? And I backed out because I've got children. I don't want to leave them. I don't want to upset other people. I'm worrying about what other people might think about it. I'm failing. I'm doing these things. You know what? That was that energy. That's not mine. That was not mine to carry. And once I realised that, I went, oh, no, I need to do this for me because that's what I need to do.
Yeah, it's funny because some people see that as as selfish, but it's really not. Because a lot of times, I've been told selfish. You're selfish for making these decisions, and it's like, is it selfish to put my happiness first?
I mean, it is selfish in a way, but every now and then we need to be selfish in order to make ourselves happy. Like if you're not being having weight loss surgery is a selfish decision because you are choosing to better your own life. It's not by me having weight loss surgery. It didn't benefit anybody else except myself.
No. Absolutely. And as soon as you're willing to put yourself forward for that vulnerability, it's the same thing is, if you're not willing to try and be embarrassed, that's somebody else's problem because at least you got up and gave it a shot. Everybody else is still standing on the sidelines. You might have got up and fallen over, but you got back up and you got off and went off again. People aren't going to remember when you were embarrassed or when you were upset because they're too busy standing there going, oh, well, at least I didn't do that. Yeah, well, here I am standing there looking at you going, you know what, at least you gave it a shot, mate. You at least gave it a go.
That's it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we asked, what would you give yourself advice-wise leading into having weight loss surgery? Is there anything you can think off the top of your head that you would give to other people thinking about or heading into this process?
If you're thinking about doing something because it's solely for you and not for anybody else, or something that you can see moving forward that's going to help you, then go and do it. It's really, as hard as it is to be that selfish, it's really that simple.
Yeah, I agree because I actually had this conversation today with the lady because I did the marriage post, where I put the before and after of me and my ex and stuff, and I talked a little bit about marriage, and someone said to me, because I stated the fact about 41% of marriages don't last after weight loss surgery in the first 10 years. And this lady on BN Bariatric page was literally like, and this is why my husband doesn't want me to have bariatric surgery. And I was like, that shouldn't be a reason to not... to not want bariatric surgery, because at the end of the day, a good relationship will last. A bad relationship, it's just going to expose
the cracks.
And that's literally, you shouldn't be afraid of that as a partner, because you can be like, our partnership's good. I'm a great partner, and that's the only reason, you should be afraid for your partner to have bariatric surgery, because you got to look at the long thing and be like, the long-term results and be like, they're going to be more happy because of it. And if you really care about them, then you'll let them have it. Or you not let them have it. You should just...
support them.
Yeah, support them. It's not even let them have it, because it's not your decision to make.
No, and that's it's such an important thing, if you're not willing to stand by your partner and let them have that growth and that change and to be able to become the best person that they can be, then you are in somebody's life that you don't want.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself some serious questions and be like, why am I in this partnership? Because partnerships are all about, boosting each other and encouraging each other. It's not about, what's best for one and what's best for the other. It's about what's best for both of you together. So on that note, Zarsh, you are an incredible human. I would love to touch back in with you later on, honestly, and have another conversation because you are very open, honest. You have a really good, you can tell you've thought about a lot of things deeper than a lot of people. And I really do appreciate you opening up and having this Discord with us because I think a lot of people will be able to benefit from it. So
I also feel that a lot of people will think a little bit differently now after sort of listening to us. And, Shannon and I banter all the time, but I think tonight's the first time that anyone's ever heard Shannon and I almost come to a disagreement at some points. But
it's not disagreement, it's Discord. And I think that's what Zarsh does. Like every time I seem to sit down with Zarsh and we have this communication. And I think that's what I really appreciate about her. And that's why I was like, I want to get her on because it's like she's not afraid to have her opinion, the same as I'm not afraid to have my opinion.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're not saying her opinion's wrong, my opinion's right, or vice versa. We're literally just having the Discord and then trying to open each other up to the option that maybe, there is another way to look at things.
Yeah.
There is, and that's exactly it, being able to let everybody else have had something to say.
Yeah, and that's what this podcast is about. It's all about just getting the opinions out there. Guys, anyway, give us your feedback. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're leading into Christmas. We'd love to get some...
4 episodes to go for the year.
Yeah, crazy. 2020 has been a hell of a year, but, I'm glad we started this podcast and I'm glad we've had this opportunity to get people like Zarsh on and, because we always get feedback about people saying, I love this, I learned this, I understood this, and that's what this is all about. It's all about just opening your mind up, understanding things on a different level, asking the questions.
Yeah.
So, if you have any feedback, if you want to hear from certain people, please head on over and make sure you give us your feedback.
And that's another episode of Bari Banter.
Well, yes, that is another episode of Bari Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.